both the coronavirus pandemic as well as wild protests raging throughout the country, while a clock is ticking down in this presidential race, make things very interesting. I've got David Lamb with me, specialist in this area, has been following elections for a long time. Look, first of all, I don't know how Trump pulls out of this.
It's tough.
The numbers are startling.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I think you told me earlier that there was one situation where it was H.W. Bush running against Dukakis, and the numbers looked just like this.
Very close.
But then Dukakis put that ridiculous helmet on, right? Remember him putting the tank helmet on his head?
Right.
And of course, H.W. Bush won. I'm not seeing that here. I got to ask you something. You know, I've always had a theory that they would play the fear card,
right?
And they are playing the fear card in a big way.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the ad where Biden wants to do with police departments, where you know there's mass pandemonium in the streets,
right?
And that obviously worked for Nixon, because Nixon was running against the guy where that was going on.
He was the outsider.
He was the outsider.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about this. Tell me why I might be.
Well, you'll notice, so Trump has tried several things to try to pin things on Biden or try to find where there's a foothold. He is now settled on he is the law and order candidate. Okay, so that is who he is. Sending in these federal troops to Portland, that kind of goes along with that. It's a hope, but the challenge there, Pap, is like you said. So he is the law and order candidate against the America that he has been in charge of for 3.5 years. Right?
It doesn't make any sense.
It's how do you pivot that?
Right. Nixon ran on law and order, but he was the outsider coming in. Here it's kind of tough for saying, hey, look what's happening in the streets. And oh, by the way, I am the president of the United States.
And you know what? And the Trump campaign, they actually do tweet and say this is what Biden's America will look like. But the reality is this is what Trump's America does look like. And with the groups that he's really struggling with, those suburban moms, they just do not like seeing all of the violence and all of the scary, that footage that's everywhere.
Well, and you got to wonder, who they're going to blame? And he's the guy in charge, right? You know, in 2016, you know, Trump is like the master, or his people are the masters of tagging people, right?
Yeah.
They, you know, like, what was it? Ted Cruz was lying Ted. Hillary was lock her up chance,
right.
You know. He's pretty good at that. He's a demagogue, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know that he's been able. He tried to give Sleepy Joe the Sleepy Joe tag. You know, he won't come out of his basement. And, you know, that's true.
Right.
He's running from his basement, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
He's having a hard time tagging Joe Biden.
He is, and that's a testament to Biden partially, because he has proven difficult for Trump to pin with the radical left or to make Biden into a scary individual. And even, I don't know if you saw this last week, the president trying to bring into question the vice president, the former vice president's mental acuity and mental fitness.
Yeah, talk about that stuff.
And this even blew up in Trump's face, because he was pointing out how questioning whether Biden's got what it takes to be the leader of the free world.
He looked like a crazy man when he was questioning. Run through what happened. So it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
So the president is talking about the testing that he's received, and it sounds like he's received a great deal of testing.
Which makes you wonder,
So
right?
what is up with that? So that's one red flag.
Okay.
But then he goes into this thing, I don't know if you've seen this, to where he starts, in the test, he said they ask you a person, woman, man, TV, camera. And then he goes on.
He said, I passed them all.
And then he said they were stunned at how good I was at that.
Oh, my God.
And so even when he brings up trying to find something on Biden that will stick, his mental fitness, he comes across looking kind of foolish himself.
The problem is, David, he can't deliver the concept. That's the problem. He doesn't have he just doesn't have the ability to deliver the concept. Yeah. And he certainly blew that big time. He looked like he had mental problems.
He did.
He was trying to say man, woman, television.
Yes.
You go, what?
What is happening? Yeah. I don't know that he has the campaigning prowess that it will take in the last 100 days.
You got to have Karl Rove. If Karl Rove, the turd blossom, as we've talked about, is in charge now, and I'm not seeing anything that Rove's doing. It's almost like Rove's kind of hoping, I hope we can squeak by. Look, less than 100 days from the election, talk about where we are with, where it comes to electoral college, which
Right.
is where it's won or
Right.
lost,
Yeah.
and popular vote. Popular vote right now to me doesn't mean as much. What do electoral vote issues look like?
So popular vote, Biden's lead is nearly 10 points. The electoral vote, that's going to be won in these battleground states. And as you run down that list of the battleground states, at present, Wisconsin, Biden's up 10. Iowa, Trump is up 1.5 points. North Carolina, 2 percentage point, basically dead even. In Florida, Biden 7 to 8%. Arizona, Biden is up 4. As you go down the list, many of the states, those battleground states that Trump won in 2016, he is actually only leading in Iowa, a sign of trouble. I think Florida, of all the battleground states are
Florida,
important,
Texas.
but Florida especially is crucial to President Trump if he has any chance. And right now, it's nearly a double-digit deficit for him. No Republican presidential winner has won without the state of Florida. Calvin Coolidge was the last to do that in 1926.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that takes hold. I would have thought the law and order would have taken hold, but your point is very well taken. This is the guy,
Yeah.
So that's really not taking hold. The Sleepy Joe in the cellar, who has, by the way, been in office for 40 plus years,
has.
and now he's saying, I'm going to do something.
Right.
That's kind of out there. It hasn't been developed really well. But the war chest.
Yeah.
War chest.
Yeah, the funding, Trump has still a great deal of money in the bank, but how are they going to utilize that? Because if you look, you were talking about electoral college votes. At this point, Biden is likely or leading. He has 222 electoral college votes, kind of in the bank, if you will, in his hip pocket. 222, 270 is where he's got to get to. Trump is at 115. How do you get to 270
Big
from that?
jump.
And Texas and Florida, those are really expensive.
115 to 270 is where he's got to go.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Long way.
joining me,
You bet.
David.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That's all for tonight. Find us on Twitter and Facebook at facebook.com/RT America's Lawyer. You can watch all RT America programs on DirecTV, channel 321, and also stream them live on YouTube. And be sure to check out RT's new portable app where you can watch all of our favorite shows. And I'm Mike Papantonio. This is America's Lawyer, where every week we tell you the stories that corporate media is ordered not to tell because their advertisers won't let them and because of their political contacts put so much pressure on them not to tell these stories. Have a great night.